When we work together, we can accomplish great things. I'm JMQueen, and I work to bring Eastern Shore communities together, building bridges and encouraging collaborations. My mission is to transform our community into one where all citizens are valued and thrive. By creating projects and programs, we can bring that vision to reality. I can help your organization broaden your reach and connect with communities of color through diversity training and initiatives. Let's work together. Contact me at jmqueencommunity.com. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm JMQueen, and welcome to Inside the Community. And today's guest, Ted Gallo. Ted, how are you?
Good, John. How are you? Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to reach people and talk to people.
Yes, of course. So we're going to jump right into the questions and give you a platform to talk about yourself and to talk about some of the things you hope to aspire to do as county commissioner. So tell us a little bit about Ted Gallo.
Well, I am a father of three. I'm married. I've been living in Chestertown for about 13 years now. I have, like I said, I've got three children. All three of them go to Kent County Public Schools. I've got identical twin boys who are upcoming juniors this year at Kent County High School, and an upcoming 7th grade daughter who's at Kent County Middle School. I'm a licensed social worker. I work for the state. My desk is in Annapolis, but thanks to teleworking, I spend most of my time working from home. So in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Okay. Well, we'll start right with the questions. You mentioned you have kids in the Kent County Public School system. So if elected as county commissioners, right off the bat, one of the hot topics right now is the commitment to funding or improving the Kent County Public School system. What's your plans or views on that commitment, and is it possible?
Absolutely, it's possible. It's funny, whenever the county or anybody wants to do anything bad enough, they find a way to do it. So fully funding our schools is going to take a lot of work from a lot of people, but it needs to be done. Things that we need to do. I was just in the Kent County High School yesterday. My son is going to have a class in a room that's got a leaky ceiling. The air condition doesn't work. As a matter of fact, the teacher was telling me that on cold days, icicles will begin to form inside of the classroom. That's not okay. In the middle school, one of the band room in the middle school is actually starting to collapse. So that's not okay either. These are things that need to get fixed. And the thing that we need to do to fix them, we obviously need to approach the state. The state has talked to us about a new middle school specifically. They're not okay. They're not going to help us renovate the existing one, which is fine, because to renovate that one is only going to save you a little bit of money compared to building a brand new one. And I'm sure that the high school, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the high school as well. Getting the state on board with that is very, very important. But expanding our tax base here in Kent County, if we have more children attending the schools, more people buying homes, more people investing in our businesses and working in Kent County, you'll get more of a tax base so that Kent County can fund its own schools more easily, rather than doing things like entertaining. Some people are entertaining the idea of a property tax hike. We pay enough property taxes. That's not going to happen on my watch. But yeah, it's very, very possible if everybody gets in. There's development and growth in Kent County, and it's very possible for us to fund everything that we need to fund. But a lot of it, particularly with Kerwin coming up, is going to take a team approach, not just one group of people thinking that they can solve it all. But we've all got to come together, and we've all got to do this.
Yes. Okay, great answer.
Thank you.
Let's do some follow up to the school questions. A lot of people think in order to improve the schools, you have to improve things like affordable housing. It's talk about broadband in the 301 corridor. So with those two questions, the first question be, do you have a plan for affordable housing here in Kent County, where there seems to be a shortage of affordable housing?
I actually earned the endorsement of the Bay Area Association of Realtors, because my plan for development in Kent County is to work with the town, specifically Chestertown. Chestertown is easily the largest place in this county. Chestertown wants the growth, and Chestertown wants affordable housing. So working with places like Chestertown Betterton, Galena, Rock Hall, Millington are also possibilities, but working with these counties to make sure that one, that they're not being, that a person who wants to move to Kent County isn't being taxed to death on property taxes to do it, that they're going to get a house that's an acceptable house. Because when we talk about affordable housing, we shouldn't be talking, it's not a fancy word for subsidized or low income housing. It's a house you can afford. A house that I can afford is what brought me to Kent County.
Yes.
So working with the counties, the towns specifically, on what it is that they need to make housing more affordable so that they can bring people in to Kent County, that needs to absolutely be done. And talking about the 301 corridor and just internet access as a whole, COVID showed us that internet access is a utility, much like electricity or sewer or any of those sorts of things. If you want to build in Kent County, you wouldn't build a home that doesn't have electric. I don't think you'd be allowed to. You wouldn't build a home that has absolutely no plumbing or no, bathroom facilities. You wouldn't be allowed to. The internet's kind of the same thing. You've got to build homes or build anything that's going to be internet ready. And we've got to work with Think Big and whoever wants to build internet in Kent County. We need to make sure that we are helping them do that. We don't need to be in their way with some asinine, archaic rule that prevents them or makes it prohibitively expensive to run internet in the county. We need to work with these companies. We need to work with the towns. We need to be an ally so that things can move forward and not just be stuck, like a rat on a wheel. We got to move forward with these things and figure out what's stopping it. And the people who want to do these things will tell you what's stopping them and getting those barriers out of the way.
Yes. So a follow-up to the 301 corridor, it almost as if it's became a myth here in Kent County. We hear this 301 corridor expansion. We've heard of the last two county commissioners' terms. In your opinion, what seems to be the holdup with the development and expansion of the 301 corridor to help not only Kent County families, but attract families that want to come to Kent County and settle down?
Well, there's a number of things, but specifically, if you're a business owner, Middletown has been great to businesses. If you wanted to start a business in Middletown, you were able to go to Middletown. And if you're, if you're a company who just wants to put a location someplace around here, Middletown's going to be your best friend. It's just the nature of the beast. And then every time I've ever talked to a small business owner, they tell me that they've got questions. They don't feel like the county's on their side. They don't get answers to questions. They just get a run around. And eventually you just kind of wash your hands with it, go 10 miles in either direction and open up business where it's a lot easier to do so. I heard on one of the Queen Anne County commissioner meetings, they referred to Kent County as Can't County. Because if you want to do business, you can't do it in Kent County. As commissioner, I would reach out because I'm told that we have several very excited developers in Millington. Let's talk to them. What do you need? What are you trying to do? How can we make that happen? I don't want to hear much about how difficult it's going to be or how we aren't going to do this or that. Let's talk. Let's see what we can do. Obviously, there's certain things you won't be allowed to do, but we need to start that dialogue because you mentioned the past two county. I think it's been longer than that. I've been hearing about this one corridor for forever, and now they have like for sale signs up.
Yeah,
that's progress, but we can do better than that.
Agreed. One more element that kind of ties into the corridor, Kent County Public Schools, affordable housing. You mentioned earlier in one of your answers, you want to focus on affordable housing in Chestertown. Speaking of Chestertown, let's talk about the tax differential there in Chestertown, with Chestertown being one of only two other places in the entire state that's double taxed. As county commissioner, I don't want you to make any promises that you'll make any changes for that, but are you open to having the dialogue about this with the town council and their officials and ultimately the residents of Chestertown, which will be also your constituents if elected?
I'll be honest with you. It's my intention to get rid of that tax differential. And that could look a lot of different ways. It could just be an outright tax cut. It could be a rebate to the town in some form or fashion. There's a lot of ways that could be done. And that is one of the prohibitive things preventing growth and preventing people from coming to Kent County is it's just easier to move into 85% of our economy in Kent County takes place in Chestertown. So if you want to come into Chestertown, you want to be part of Kent County, you need to feel encouraged to do so. And this tax differential, this double taxation, is making people want to leave Chestertown, and the county doesn't want them. The county's rural; they're very limited on their growth, so the county's not gonna necessarily want that growth. So we're kind of pushing people away. The tax differential. I mean, the amount of money that Chestertown is losing on that is mind-boggling if you believe some of the estimates. So that's got to be addressed, got to be taken care of. And there's thousands of ways that could be done. But working with, and not just Chestertown, I know Betterton and Millington and Galena also, and Rock Hall also have that. And talking to the people, they're okay with it, which is fine. I mean, if you're happy if a town is happy with it, we'll keep it the way it is. But I know Chestertown is not. And Chestertown's where we want to stimulate the most growth. So we gotta do something about that. And I'm fully on board with getting rid of that tax differential.
Okay. A lot of times when county commissioners have the platform and they go on their campaign tour, they tend to focus on Chestertown. Do you have any plans for other towns such as Betterton and maybe the Wharton area or some of these less developed areas here in Kent County for growth, for not only affordable housing, but maybe light industrial economic opportunities?
Well, light industrial economic opportunities seem better suited to Wharton than the towns, but that's a complicated issue, and I don't want to make any promises or anything until I know more about that. But again, working with the towns, making sure that the county is an ally on that, so that development can happen in a way that they feel is beneficial to them. It's funny. I was actually just about an hour ago talking to someone up in Betterton about many years ago. There was a plan for it sounded like a very nice golf course up in Betterton Way, which seemed like a great idea. I think that ship has sailed, but the reason that it never happened is because people in the county that were supposed to go forward to the state about this plan just never did it. Just never filed whatever paperwork they needed to file, and nothing was ever done. So working with the towns, making sure that these projects that they have are completed. Talking about Millington, the Millington Elementary School. It's been vacant for 5 years, 6 years. Now the town's got a development plan. The county, instead of trying to get, whatever millions of dollars they could for the property, you should have done that years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the town is offering $1 or something.
$1 from what I heard. Yes.
$1. That might be the best offer you can get. Okay. And it's unfortunate, but you should have jumped on that a long, long time ago. Yeah. Millington's got a plan. Let Millington do what they want to do with it, and be supportive of that. The back and forth that we had, nobody saw that and said to themselves that this looks like a place to do business. That was just yet another example of the county getting in the way of development to absolutely no positive end. Right now, we have an aging, empty elementary school.
Correct.
And we did all that for nothing.
For some of the viewers that's going to watch this, do you have any past political experience?
I ran for office, Chestertown Town Council last year. That was my first entry into politics. And honestly, if you'd asked me a year ago if I'd ever run for office, I would have said no. But after running for office that time, I actually got a lot of encouragement from people all across the political spectrum to stay involved, to run again. So that's why I decided to run for county commissioner. Short story, not a very exciting one, but.
Well, let's follow up on that question.
Yeah.
Some of the pros and cons, some of the things that you learned about campaigning and politics, and then some of the things that you were like, if I win any seat, these things have to change.
The thing that I'll tell you, the one thing I learned, and I kind of knew this going in, was that people are very, very frustrated at the feeling that they are working harder and harder and getting absolutely nowhere with it. They feel like the county is in their way. They feel like they're busting their hump, doing everything right, and just not getting them anywhere. And that's a palpable feeling. And my God, I can so relate to that. That's one of the reasons that I decided to get in, is because I don't feel like a lot of these people feel like they're being heard. And I hear them. I understand that feeling of putting in a good day's work and not feeling like you're getting ahead. I understand that feeling of sending your kids to school only to find out that they're not getting the best education. Or my son was taught, the kid who was arrested for stabbing someone. My son was talking to him not 24 hours before that happened.
Yeah.
That's not the type of stuff I want to hear about. I want to hear about how we're doing good, how we're doing better. And there's a palpable frustration out there that everybody feels like they're doing the right thing, but getting nowhere with it. So that's one thing I definitely learned about that. And that's one of the reasons that I decided to do this again, is because it just, so many people just felt like they were being completely ignored. And in my one election, the fact that we had fewer than 70 people showed up on the biggest ward in Chestertown, our biggest town, I think speaks to the apathy. The people have just kind of given up, that they don't feel like it matters. And I can't accept that. So I'm happy to put myself out there. So people, if you feel frustrated, please let me know what frustrates you, and I will try and do what I can to make things better. That's got to end.
Okay. Well, look, let's try that theory right now. I'll tell you one thing that frustrates me here: the lack of economic growth. Yep. Myself being a community leader, I bring economic growth up a lot, and I feel like when you bring it up here in Kent County, you're ostracized, because I think the people who are in charge of making these decisions for economic growth feel like you're attacking them, instead of feeling like, okay, here's someone from the community who's saying something can be improved. How can we do it? I would love to hear your economic plan for economic growth, or just insight on how we can improve the economic relationship here with not only the citizens, but also small businesses.
Well, reaching out to the small businesses and finding out what it is that their frustrations are, and how can we address that. One of the first things I did, my buddy runs the Papa Smurf barbecue.
Yes.
He wanted to start doing that downtown. And oh my God, it was like Walmart's coming back again or something. He's a guy who's running a taco truck. He's not
I remember that. Yes, I definitely remember that. Yes.
Yeah, all he wanted to do was, sell food from a truck. It wasn't anything. People are going to come to Chestertown, enjoy it, get a quick bite to eat, think they had a good time. Maybe I'll come back and try one of those restaurants. But nobody benefited from the result of giving him the hard time. Of the other lady who was involved, I don't think is in business anymore.
I think it was the taco girls, Burroughs Tacos, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. She doesn't do that anymore, because it just became too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And for economic growth, if someone has a plan, our answer off the tip of our tongue should be yes, unless there's a reason not to. And if the first thing you hear is, oh, I want to start a new business, a small business, and the first thing you hear is, oh, no, we're not it, that's not good. You're going to scare people off. Yeah. Especially restaurants. The restaurant industry is a tough, cutthroat business, because it's a constant hustle. And if someone wants to come invest, you need to let them do that. And understand that if you own a restaurant or whatever here now, you need people to come back, and you need to feel like a cooperative place. Otherwise, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're not going to move forward if you don't have other restaurants and other competition around.
Yes, agreed. With some of the topics we kind of already discussed, it almost feels like it's a dark reality for the Kent County residents. Over the last decade, we have continuously lost population, and population affects a lot of things. It affects the school money for public school system. It affects the taxes or tax increase or breaks. What is the plan that the county commissioners, not just yourself, if you were elected, the team of county commissioners, what is or what should be the plan to retain families and increase the population here?
Well, again, as a young family, brought my young family here. I've raised my family here. I understand what it is that people need to stay. They need good schools. You got to fix the schools, make sure that people are getting quality education. Correct. You need a job, not just a job, but a career that you can work at while you're living in Kent County. Healthcare is another thing. Our hospital, everybody needs a hospital. And our hospital is going from being a hospital into almost a glorified emergency room.
Correct.
I mean, if you break your arm, you're fine. But if you have chest pains, and you need to spend a few days, you're going to be in Baltimore 2 hours from your family. That doesn't, nobody's better off that way.
Correct.
And these are things, particularly as people get older or they're younger, they're going to consider, and they're not going to want to settle here. They're going to want to go someplace else. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then when people move from Chestertown or move from Kent County, they're just taking their taxes with them. They're not taking the roads that we still have to pay to maintain. They're not taking the electricity that we still have to pay to maintain. They're not taking the all the other infrastructure that they need. That stuff's still here and still needs to be maintained, and it just sits there and it turns into an eyesore. So one of the good things that we do have here is a college. We have Washington College. We're lucky we have that because it's nothing but young, educated talent, often financially well off. Those are the type of people you want staying in Kent County. So we need to work with the college to be like, okay, what would your students need? What would make them stay? What would help them stay? And with faster internet and kind of more of a push towards working from home, there's a golden opportunity here for us to remain rural while increasing our working population.
Yes.
We need to jump on that.
Yes. I like that. That was a good answer. Let's talk about the rural setting of Kent County and some of the issues that we have. First, let's talk about, if elected, what type of support you will have for the health and restoration of the Chesapeake Bay. But more importantly, what type of support would you give to the Kent County watermen and essentially their way of life?
That's a very important question, especially out like Rock Hallway out that way. They need to understand that they will have my full and complete support. If you're a waterman, you're not doing it for the money. It's a very noble, very honest way to make a living, and you need to be supported.
Correct.
And I myself, as a county commissioner, have absolutely no problem going down to Annapolis and helping out our state delegates, because God knows they are completely overwhelmed down there. I will go down there and advocate for our watermen, advocate for our farmers personally, to make sure that they feel well represented. Because you look at what's going on the other side of the Bay with Baltimore and their sewage treatment plants, they're doing more damage to the Bay than we are. The Susquehanna, the dam, doing more damage to the Bay than we are. And when we're taking pot shots out there from folks in Annapolis, that can't be allowed to stand. Okay, I can't take you guys seriously if you're going to let Baltimore treat the Bay like a friggin' sewer and do nothing about the Conowingo Dam, and then you're going to come on us because we're doing what we need to do to make a living. I can't take that. No, I can't take that seriously. And that's sort of stuff. Someone's got to say something about that. I'm happy to go down there and advocate personally on behalf with our delegation to make sure that the state understands that we need to be taken seriously, and that they're not doing that. Okay. And that's sad but true.
Yes, yes. So I hear that you will fight for the watermen and farmers. Let me ask this question, because I think it might be twofold. Yes, you've committed to having a responsibility to fight on behalf of essentially Kent County residents. But do the residents understand the opportunity that they have here in Kent County? And more specifically, let's talk about the watermen and the farmers. Kent County is essentially less than 2 hours away from 6 major markets. What plan should it be to improve the life of the watermen and farmers and the agricultural growth here, but to also almost monetize that opportunity that we have to the specific area to get the high-end dollars from these markets and bring that money back to Kent County?
It's funny that you ask about that, because I mentioned the teleworking. I have met a lot of people, and more since COVID, who do that, who get jobs in Philadelphia, Washington, Baltimore, making good money, but they only ever need to show up in the office once a week, like I do, or twice a week.
Yeah.
You know, this is a great place to be. And you buy a nice house, you pay your property taxes, you send your kids to our school, you can enjoy everything that we have to offer, and the county can remain rural that way, so that the farmers can still have their farmland, that the watermen can still have, their way of life. And if you're going to get a bushel of oysters, a bushel of crabs, and sell them to someone, that's going to help you too. That'll be more lucrative for them. There'll be more people here to buy what they're selling. So all of that is combined, and it's interlinked, and we got to jump on this. this teleworking thing, while it's still special, because we've got some good internet running through the county. We just need to make sure it gets everywhere, and that its full potential for is being used for growth and development, so that people can come with their high paying big city jobs and live in Kent County, do what I do, only show up at the office twice a week, once a week. I mean, we have to spin that right. We have to advertise that right. We have to go out there and let people know that that's a possibility and that we're open to it. That we've got a rural way of life that'll help you keep your big city job with the good pay. I mean, we're actually only 3 hours away from Manhattan.
Yes.
I was talking to someone about that. About they were trying to get a job. I think being a lawyer or something in Manhattan, making that kind of money, but live in Kent County, because they would only need to go up there twice a week, maybe.
Yeah.
I think they'd even be able to afford a hotel if they needed to spend the night. We need to jump on that, because that's an awesome opportunity for so many people to enjoy a nice quality of life, but still get all the benefits of having a high paying job in a city.
Agreed. Let's talk about the retirement population here. A lot of times people almost attack that population of people here because they seem to think they benefit more than everyone else. Two questions. The first question is, if you were to raise taxes, would the concentrated tax raise be on that population of 65 and older? And then also, you mentioned about the hospital kind of being a glorified emergency room. What other services, if not a full staffed hospital, could the county bring here to support that aging population and demographic here in Kent County?
Well, the one thing in talking to seniors, the quality of the medical care is a priority. I mean, the older you get, the more you're going to need it. So that's certainly, I think, a good place to start. If I raise taxes, I have absolutely no interest. We pay enough in taxes. I'm not looking at raising taxes. If anybody has that idea, I mean, I'm never going to say no to anything right off the bat, but you really got to sell that to me, because we pay enough in taxes. I'm not trying to do that. And I certainly don't want to target our seniors or our young people or anybody with that. We pay enough. I'll tell you some of the things that seniors need. Again, I mentioned the hospital. They need to feel like that when they go in for medical care, that they can get it, that it's not going to be a whole day and a half process.
Yes.
Transportation is important in that too. You need to know that you're going to be able to get to that, because I know for my parents, they're getting at an age where just driving 20 minutes is starting to become challenging. They need to be able to do that. People need to be able to get to good quality healthcare without taking, 2 days to do it, or a day, or a couple of hours to do it. So the transportation, healthcare, and just making sure that they have a quality way of life here, because nobody, when you retire, you're not looking to work. Most people aren't.
Right.
So understand that if you want to have a retirement community, they need the services, and that means you need to have people who have jobs to maintain those services for them. And it's all kind of interwoven together.
Yes, a lot of these questions here locally in Kent County are interwoven. Case in point, in your answer you just articulated just now, you brought up public transportation. Public transportation or public transit has been a ongoing issue here in Kent County. I think we have something in place now like Delmarva Transit, but it has a lot of specific regulations and rules of how you can use it. Will there ever be a commitment to public transportation in Kent County?
I'll tell you, that needs to get looked into. There is no public transportation anywhere in the world that is not heavily subsidized. Yes. I mentioned earlier that we are taxed plenty as it is, but we do need better transportation. I think that to me, it seems like the most obvious thing would be sort of like a taxi service. I need a ride from point A to point B. Let me call a cab to get from point A to point B. That seems to me to be the easiest way to do that. I would like to have bus service, so you could hop on a bus from Chestertown, go out to Woods Edge, or come from Woods Edge to Chestertown to go shopping, to get groceries, because we have a couple of food deserts in this county that we don't need to be there. Correct. Simply because we get a ride.
Correct.
And go from Galena to connect all the towns together, we need something like that. I mentioned a taxi service because to me that seems like the most feasible, low cost way of doing it, like Uber kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Delmarva Transit needs to have a presence here. I don't know if anybody, I challenge anybody, use it. Try and get from Chestertown or Rock Hall even down to, let's say, Easton, to the Target in Easton. See how long that takes you.
You're from 6:30 in the morning, you ain't gonna get home till 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and God help you if you need to be buy something like big, you know. What if you need to go grocery shopping for more than 2 bags? You're not gonna be able to get it back.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, we need much better public transportation.
Okay.
I think a taxi service of some kind would be the easiest, most cost-effective way, but I would like to see Delmarva Transit just have more of a presence here. A lot of people don't even know that we have it. They don't know that you can get a bus at 6:30 in the morning to get down to Easton.
Correct. Okay. Let's slow it down a little bit and hear a little bit more about Ted Gallo and his career and work experience. Let's hear some about your experience in your career.
You're right. I do, because I've got a lot to say about a lot of this. So I very much have a passion for helping the community. I was raised to believe that giving back to your community is a noble calling. That's something that I was brought up in my church and my faith to believe. That's one of the reasons that I decided to become a social worker, because God knows it's not for the money, because I wanted to give back to my community. Like I said, I'm currently working with abused and neglected children in Annapolis. I've been doing that on and off for about 15 years. Prior to that, I've also worked at the Whitsitt Center here in Chestertown, helping with drug and alcohol addictions. Before that, I worked in Baltimore City for a number of years, doing outpatient mental health. Absolutely love the job. I know Baltimore City like the back of my hand, because I've been through every neighborhood and everything in Baltimore City. Loved it.
Right.
But I wanted to raise my family, so I had to leave that. And prior to that, I actually grew up in a small town in Virginia. Well, what was a small town in Virginia. Went to college in Virginia, got married, decided to move up, start my life in Maryland. And here I am. My whole family lives in Maryland now, well, except for my father. Most of my family lives in Maryland now. So, yeah. Hope I answered the question.
Got you. Let's dibble and dab in the topics that kind of been hot in Kent County over the last 5 years. One of these issues is racism and social equity. A lot of us, and you know this personally from being in Chestertown, it was a big, in 2020 social uprising, Chestertown Unites plan, et cetera, came forth. Do you think, one, there is an issue with racism here in Kent County? And then more specifically, two, do you see the lack of diversity in county employment as an issue?
Do we have a problem with racism here in Kent County? Race is a problem in so many things and in so many ways, so many places. It's so baked into the way we live our lives anymore. People just often don't see it. Yeah, racism is a problem in Kent County. It has been, and people will point out some of the things that we do that are historically racist that nobody even knows about. I'll admit there's been times people have pointed things out that are rooted in racism, and I had absolutely no idea. So it's out there, and it's something that we need to be open to addressing, and we need to take seriously, and we need to address. Is there a problem with county hiring, the diversity in county hiring? I don't know that. I'm hearing that there is, so that's something we need to look into, is to how do we recruit people?
Yeah.
How can we possibly get more people of all sorts of ethnic backgrounds involved to come better represent the county? And honestly, there are a lot of minority groups in Kent County that, like a lot of us, just feel marginalized and ignored.
Correct.
Giving them a voice, a place where they can feel like they can come together, where they can be heard, that's very, very important. I think the easiest place, most commonly, ethnic groups congregate in churches. Going out to churches, talking to people at the churches, holding town halls at churches is probably the best way to reach certain communities, get your word out, and listen to what it is they have to say. I don't have the answers to everything. People need to come up and tell me what it is they think problems are and ways that we can address that.
Okay, all right. Let's ask this: if elected, because a lot of times elected officials tell their constituents, hey, listen, make these county commissioners meeting, come tell us your concerns. A lot of people have an issue with what time the county commissioners meetings are being held. Do you see a foreseeable change, or would you push for a change in time if you're elected to have them more in the evening when people are home, situated from work, instead of in the middle of the day around noon or 1 o'clock?
Yeah, yeah. They need to be accessible. I think having them online is a good idea. But I'll tell you myself, I would have been at more of these Kent County Commissioners meetings. But my son, who I had to drive to work on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. when the meetings start, and needs to get picked up at 6 p.m. when the evening meetings start. So I wasn't able to make a lot of these meetings.
Yeah.
So we need to address like ways that we can make these more accessible. Doing them virtually, taking phone calls out of that is a good way. Not the best way, but it works for some people. So absolutely, I am perfectly open to having them peppered out so that more people can make them. And you don't even have to always have them on Tuesdays. Let's do it on a Saturday, see who shows up. Let's do them on a Monday if that's better for people. But asking people when is an easier time, and what would make the county commissioners more accessible.
Yeah.
It might not even be a bad idea to occasionally go to just have one in Rock Hall, for instance, so residents in Rock Hall can get to one, or Galena, just to make it easier for people up that way to get to one. Be open, be creative in making the county government more accessible to more people, because that's a big thing for a lot of people. They would like to go, but just can't make it on those two times.
Yes, okay, let's ask one more question before closing with your closing statement. The question is about tourism. Tourism is one of the top 3 financial money makers here in Kent County. Is there a foreseeable plan from the county commissioners, not from the economic development or tourist business here, from the from the county commissioners, for a real plan for tourism? It could be a big draw here. As you said, we got a lot of rich history. It's a great rural area. Is there a plan to kind of upsize and progress the tourism here?
I tell you one thing, I've actually put a lot of thought into that, about things that we need to do, things that we need to promote. We talked about ethnic diversity. I would like to see Chestertown have kind of an Upper Shore ethnic food festival, multicultural festival. The name would have to be, we'd have to work on the name, of course, but something like that. We've got, Downreeking, Tea Party, Rock Hall's got the Pirates and Wenches. We have a number of festivals that need to be promoted outside of the area, so that people, I would like to see these things on the TV in Baltimore. Let's do a better job of promoting that, because I found out about one of them when I was living in Baltimore from the evening news. Only time I've ever seen one of these festivals promoted, and that's how I ended up coming to Kent County. So we need to do more to promote these things. Come up with a couple of different ideas that'll attract more and more people to come here, and do these sorts of things. I think an underutilized area is sports.
Yes.
If we end up building a new middle school out there at Wharton, you spruce that place up. I know my daughter has been blessed with some extraordinary athletic abilities, so we travel a lot, and we see some communities have really invested in these sports complexes. I think there's a potential there, because people come, they buy hotel rooms, they'll shop at the restaurants, and then they go home. People make a lot of money, but for very little work.
Yes.
Well, you work hard for a few days, but so I'd like to look into doing something like that, having some sort of sport events here that draw people from out of the area. I also think, being a rural county, we got fishing, hunting. We need to be more open towards looking at we have some very bizarre hunting laws that I would like to address, particularly Sunday hunting. I mean, what you do on Sunday morning is between you and God, and I don't think the deer care. So let's let's be more open to bringing in hunters and things like that. Because there's a lot of potential out here. We just need to realize, get out of our own ways and advertise it so that people know. Going to the Tea Party Festival this year, I met people from all up and down the East Coast. It was wonderful. They had no idea Chestertown was there. They had no idea Kent County existed. Like, well, now you do. Please come back.
Yes,
So
yes.
we need to do a better job of promoting that. Oh, and hotels. I'd like to see more hotels here.
Yes.
So, I mean, we've got the Holiday Inn was nice, but they, sold. Well, we need more places that people are going to want to stay and be like, okay, I had a good time. I'll stay here again. I'll come back for the next festival. Because we have a lot of, we need to do a better job of promoting people and keeping them here for a night or two.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. All right. Time for closing remarks, Ted. Okay. In closing, let's hear why you should be county commissioner and why voting you is important to the future of Kent County.
Well, first of all, again, John, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody. You are certainly a leader in this community, and having your support is very, very important.
Thank you.
In case you haven't been able to tell, I'm very passionate about doing this.
Yes, I see it. I see it on a regular basis from you. So yes.
Yes. I understand the frustrations people feel. And it's so easy for people to just give up, wash their hands of it, and be like, I'm just going to take care of me and my own for as best I can. But that's not how communities work. People want to get involved. We've got a lot of talent. We've got a lot of potential here that isn't being realized because people just don't feel like they're being heard. They just don't feel like they make any kind of difference. And that's why I'm running for county commissioners, because I can't accept that as being kind of our default position. We need to get out there. We need to get engaged. We need to feel like we're being heard. We need to feel like what we're doing makes a difference. That's why I'm running, because and voting for me is, well, you'll be voting for someone who will listen to you, who will be open to your ideas. Even if you don't agree with me, please, I want you to know you will be heard.
Yes.
So that's basically why I'm doing this, is because we're sitting, well, Kent County honestly right now is in a crisis. People are leaving. Our schools aren't doing so good. Our businesses are pulling up. It's just becoming harder and harder to be here. And you can see that in the population decline, and that has got to stop. I'm doing this because I want to make this a better place to live. I'm doing this because I want people to feel like someone's got their back, that they have a voice, that they will be heard on the county commissioner's level. That's why I'm doing this. And that's why I'm asking for everybody's support, because we are sitting, the crisis could continue, or we could pull ourselves out of this, and we could be at the cusp of a renaissance here. We could be an amazing place, a perfect example of what small town America can be, how inclusive it can be, how wonderful it can be. And we need to seize this opportunity while we can before it gets even worse.
Yes, yes. For people who are looking to support you, how can they get in contact with you, Ted?
I have my email address, Ted Gallo for Kent County @gmail.com, or you could find me on Facebook, Gallo for Kent County.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming. And I look to see a lot from you in the future. And also, we'll bring you back closer to the election to have you be a guest again on this show.
Please do. I'm happy to talk to anybody at any time about anything. Please, I want to be as open and transparent as possible. Please feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, candidate for county commissioner, Ted Gallo.
Thanks so much, John.